Hi everyone, my name is Mercedes, and in today's video, we'll be giving you an introduction to coding for data science. This video is presented by WITS-TT. So we've spoken a lot about apps, algorithms, and machine learning in data science. Today, we're going to speak about the key component behind all of those things, coding. By the end of this lesson, you will be able to understand what coding is and why it's essential in data science. Identify key programming concepts like variables, loops, conditionals, and more. And you'll be able to apply these concepts in a simple project using Python on Google Colab. So what is coding? Coding is like writing instructions for a computer to follow. It helps us create programs and apps to do tasks like organizing data, analyzing it, and making visuals. In data science, we use coding to turn messy information into patterns, insights, and decisions that can change the world. Now let's talk about programming languages. Computers only understand machine code. This is basically just different combinations of ones and zeros. Programming languages makes it easier for humans to talk to computers. There are many programming languages to choose from, but today we will be using Python. Python is one of the most popular programming languages for data science because it's easy to learn and has tools for analyzing and visualizing data. Here's a fun fact. Even companies like Google and Netflix use Python. Now we're going to learn about the basics of coding. And the best way to learn about coding is by doing it. So you'll also be trying your hand at some basic coding. To practice, we'll use a tool that's very popular among data scientists, Google Colab. Google Colab is like a digital notebook where we can write code and see it run instantly, all from your browser. It's free, easy to use, and perfect for learning coding. To get started, open a web browser and type the following URL. Your teacher will have a Google Colab notebook for you to use. You can pause this video and get your notebook set up now. Before we get into the basics, let's talk about how to run code. After we write a piece of code, we need to run it in Google Colab. We do this by pressing the arrow in the top left corner of our code box. We can also do this by highlighting the piece of code, selecting the Runtime menu, and clicking Run. See below for an example. Now let's talk about variables. Variables are like labeled boxes where we can store information that we want the computer to remember. For example, if you wanted the computer to remember your name and age, you could save them as variables labeled name and age. Let's look at some example code. You can also take a look at this in your Google Colab notebook. You should have it open by now. So here we have some code. Name equals Alice, age equals 11, and we can print a statement. My name is Alice and I am 11 years old. Run this code now in your Google Colab notebook. Now let's talk about data types. Data can be numbers, words, or even true or false values. These are called data types. Let's look at a few common data types that are useful in data science. First, we'll look at strings. A string is a sequence of characters enclosed in quotes. This can include letters, numbers, spaces, and special characters. Strings are useful for storing names, messages, or any text-based information. Remember when we looked at variables? We had you save a name as a variable. Remember, name equals Alice. In this case, Alice is a string. Another data type is numeric data. Numeric data types represent numbers. This type of data is essential for calculations and measurements. In Python, we can use two types of numeric data. Integers, which are whole numbers, like 3 or 42 or -5. Then we also have floating point numbers. These are numbers with decimals. For example, 3.14 or minus 0.15. Another data type is Boolean. A Boolean represents one of two possible values, true or false. Booleans are often used in decision making, like checking conditions or filtering data. Now you try in your Google Colab notebook. Let's write a simple program to check if a number is greater than 10. You should see this code already provided for you in your notebook. Now run the code in your notebook. Did you see an answer pop up? Say your answer out loud. Now, let's change the number to number equals 5. Now rerun the program. Did you see an answer pop up? What's the new answer? Say it out loud. Another data type in Python is called a list. A list is a collection of items stored in a specific order. Lists can hold strings, numbers, or even other lists. Lists are helpful for organizing multiple pieces of related data. For example, we've provided some examples of lists in your Google Colab notebook. So here we have a list of fruits, including apple, banana, and cherry. We also have a list of numbers, going from 1 to 5. Then we have a mixed list, including text, numbers, and true. Moving on, let's talk about functions. Functions are like mini programs inside your code that perform a specific task. Functions help to make coding easier by reducing repetition and organizing your code into manageable pieces. In Python, there are two main types of functions, built-in functions and custom functions. Let's talk about built-in functions. Python provides built-in functions that you can use without having to write them yourself. Some examples include the print function to display text or variables, and the sum function to calculate the sum of the numbers in a list. Custom functions, on the other hand, are functions that the programmer creates for themselves to execute specific tasks. Let's try it. In your Google Colab notebook, run the code below. It should already be provided for you. Now, let's practice everything we've learned and put it all together by doing a mini project in Python. For this project, let's imagine that we did a poll in our class, asking students what was their favorite fruit. Step 1 in this project is to enter our dataset. For this project, our dataset is a list of votes collected from our class poll asking what is your favorite fruit. Run the code below that has been provided in your Google Colab notebook to define the dataset. Step 2 is to count the votes. Now we will use Python to summarize our poll results and get a count of the number of votes for each fruit. To count the number of votes, we will use a built-in function in Python called count. This code has already been provided for you in your Google Colab notebook. Run the code below. Step 3 is to print the results. Now we'll print up the results so that we can take a look at them and look at the number of votes for each fruit. Again, the code has been provided for you in your Google Colab notebook, so go ahead and run the code below. Step 4 is to save the result. Now we have to save the results, and we will save them as lists. Run the following code that has been provided for you in your Google Colab notebook in order to save the results as lists. Once you have saved the results, we can now use those lists to visualize our data. In order to visualize our data, we need to use a Python library called matplotlib. Libraries are collections of pre-built functions that make coding easier. Let's import the matplotlib library now using the code below. Go ahead and run this code in your Google Colab notebook. Now we will create a bar chart using the lists we just created. Visualizing the data in this way makes it easier to interpret. So again, Go ahead and run the code below in your Google Colab notebook. Did you see the chart pop up? Great. Now for our final step, let's go ahead and interpret the data. So take a look at the graph that you just created. Which was the most popular fruit? Say your answer out loud. And which was the least popular fruit? Say your answer out loud. Now let's recap what we learned. We learned that coding is like giving instructions to a computer. In data science, coding helps us organize, analyze, and visualize data. We also learned about variables, data types, and functions, which are some of the building blocks of coding. Finally, you even tried coding for yourself in Google Colab, where you collected, analyzed, and visualized data. Now let's review with some true or false questions. True or false? Google Colab is a physical device that you need to connect to your computer to write code. Say your answer out loud. This is false. Google Colab is actually an online platform for writing and running code in a browser. It is not a physical device. True or false? Variables in Python are used to store information like numbers or words. Say your answers out loud. This is true. Variables are like mini boxes that we use to store information. True or false? Python is not a good programming language for beginners because it's very difficult to learn. Say your answers out loud. This is false. Python is a beginner-friendly and widely used in data science.